Hello there and welcome to another edition of your magazine of the movies, Let's Talk Criterion. In this edition we look at Edward Yang's 2000 multi-generational look at family life in Taipei, Yi Yi, coming to the collection on 4K UHD. Edward Yang sadly died at the age of 59, but already by then he'd left a rich legacy of films, starting with In Our Time, his segment in that, Expectation. That Day on the Beach, which he co-wrote with Wu Nianzhen. Taipei Story, co-written with Hou Xiaoshen and Chu Qianwen. Terrorizers, co-written with Xiao Ye. And his final four films, A Brighter Summer Day, A Confucian Confusion, and Mahjong, three of which are in the collection, with A Confucian Confusion and Mahjong making their debut last year. And finally there's Yi Yi from 2000, subtitled A One and a Two, looking across the Jian family, a multi-generational Taiwanese family, and visually, of course, it's a love letter to Taipei. The film won him the Best Director Award at the Cannes Film Festival. Now, Edward Yang himself said the film is simply about life, played across the spectrum of its span. In my view as a writer, simplicity is what's at the bottom of the whole lot of complications at the top. So says Edward Yang, and he should certainly know. To claim that Yi Yi is simply about life is not an oversimplification in its simple self. But there is, however, no need to elevate the film above the basic emotional core that is at the centre of every one of the stories that Yang tells here. Yi Yi follows a Taipei family, the Jians, over the course of 1 year at the end of the last millennium. Now, the film starts with a wedding and it ends with a funeral, and so within that framework we can assume that the film's attempting to capture the full arc of a life within its year-long timeline. Now let's look at the central characters in the film. We have the father, NJ, Wu Nianzhen, teenage daughter, Ting Ting, Kelly Lee, and 8-year-old son, Yang Yang, Jonathan Chang. At the beginning of the film, on the night of Ting Ting and Yang Yang's uncle's wedding, their grandmother suffers an accident, sadly, and she ends up in a coma. In the aftermath of this, their mother, Min Min, played in the film by Alian Jin, escapes to a monastery to deal with her grief, leaving NJ, Ting Ting and Yang Yang to cope with the aftermath. Now, the film cuts between the lives of the remaining family members, charting their growth and the ways that their paths interact and reflect upon each other's journeys. While caring for his family alone, NJ grows dissatisfied with the crass consumerism of his business partners, and he reconnects with his first love. That's Sherry, played in the film by Su Yun Ko, reevaluating his life priorities in the process. Ting Ting experiences her first love with Fatty, played in the film by Chang Yu Pang. He's the ex-boyfriend of her friend and neighbour. And young Yang Yang himself, well, he deals with bullying at school by purchasing a camera, which then becomes his newfound obsession. Now, each character in the film represents middle age, adolescence and childhood respectively, and Yang uses their lives to show changes in Taiwanese society at that time. NJ's dissatisfaction, for instance, with his job speaks to the crisis of Taiwan's capitalist economy in the late years of the 20th century. Yang further develops his portrayal of capitalistic malaise in NJ's friendship with a radical Japanese game designer, Ota, played in the film by Izzy Ogata, who suggests the possibility of finding meaning in work. Now, in Ota's introductory scene, Yang defamiliarizes language and imagery to illustrate how Ota offers NJ a radically different way of engaging with the world. In the scene, we first watch an ultrasound, and as the image of the fetus fills our screen, we hear a woman discussing the potential of creation. Now, of course, we naturally assume that it's the ultrasound technician talking here, but Yang immediately cuts to a scene of a boardroom where Ota is speaking through a female translator about the potential for his video games. And by overlaying the sound of the boardroom scene onto the images of the ultrasound scene, delaying the reveal of the speech's context, Edward Yang here cues us onto the topic of creation itself and new life, just as he changes the context of its presentation. In essence, he offers us a new perspective, just as Ota offers NJ one. Now, for her part, Ting Ting in the film, she shows the developing role for women within a world of eroding tradition, where romance is just transactional. And Yang Yang's engagement with pop culture and photography shows the proliferation of Western pop culture, especially in the East, and how artistic creativity can offer an escape from life. None of these characters alone captures the some essence of life in Taiwan, though, in 1999, but taken together, they provide a portrait of middle-class life in a structure and a culture stuck between East and West, between tradition and modernity. Furthermore, Yang explores generational dynamics as well, and the cyclical nature of life in the families paralleling lives. In the film's most stunning sequence, Yang cuts back and forth between NJ and Sherry on a trip to Japan, and Yang on a date with Fatty. And at one point, NJ and Sherry discuss the first time they intended to sleep together, when NJ ended up fleeing the hotel room and refusing to consummate their relationship. Immediately after, NJ and Sherry reflect on this past action and what it says about their lives in the here and in the now. Now, in this cross-cutting sequence, Edward Yang demonstrates to us how each generation repeats what came before, but in their own unique way, showing that each experience of a person's life is wholly unique to them and wholly banal as well. It's a blend of the personal and the universal. Thus, there's no generational conflict taking place in Yi Yi, but instead we see a seamless conversation taking place between generations. Now, this particular scene epitomises the film's metaphorical approach. Just as Yang repeats her father and Sherry's experience, she is in herself living her own distinct moment of growth. It just happens to be a moment of growth that is experienced by almost everyone. This simultaneous approach is how Yang approaches the film as a whole. The characters in the film are distinct people, but they stand in for culture and speak to universal truths about people's experiences in this specific culture at the turn of the millennium in Taipei. Now, it's strange, though, that a film that's so concerned with such raw and negative emotions, for instance, fear, jealousy, self-loathing, should not only be so enjoyable, but also so affirming of so many positives as well. Yi Yi is so gently told that it's almost impossible to resist it. This film is the ultimate celebration of life itself, as a journey, rather than as a destination. And if that sounds somewhat trite, well, it is. Despite all the pain and suffering in the film, there are enough quiet moments of satisfaction and hope in Yi Yi that optimism reigns supreme. Life should be like a jazzy tune, Yang says, not something tense or heavy or stressful. Now, to call this film a work of art is really to deny it as a subjective experience, because the actors all certainly give uniformly brilliant performances throughout. Yang's script as well manages to be clever without undermining the realism, and his direction, of course, is nothing short of magnificent. But these are all part of a greater whole that just seems to work. Now, in telling this complicated story, Edward Yang utilises a deliberate, masterful style of his own that defines unhurried. His accepting sensibility has a way of immersing an audience in his characters and in their situations, with actors completely inhabiting their roles. Yi Yi feels like it's happening right in front of us, with a satisfying immediacy. Now, one of Yang's specific techniques here is the way he periodically holds the camera unmoving at a small remove from the action itself. Now, this may sound distancing, but it actually comes off as accepting. Edward Yang not only trusts viewers to understand he's far from unconcerned, but also believes in the powerful emotion inherent in his situations. He knows Yi Yi's passions are strong enough to involve us, and his confidence is more than repaid. Now, the film itself is just over 3 hours in length, and it's slow-paced, so it will take some stamina to get through it. But if you do complete the challenge, it will certainly reward you as a viewer, especially with its beautiful ending. No plot spoilers here, by the way, but it speaks to the essence of what a family is and how much of everyday family life is made up of large portions of nothing eventful at all. Events we create or experience, and the myriad of emotional highs and lows which are fueled through arguments, traumatic occurrences either by us or to us, or experienced by us through others, moments of great joy and celebration, or moments of deep depression and sadness caused by either our actions or the actions of others, or just grief that we simply experience through losing our loved ones. Unexpected moments or surprises notwithstanding, Edward Yang draws out this map of humanity on our screen within one single family unit, and we see it through the experiences and the eyes of members of that family at various ages. So what more can I say? This 4K upgrade will certainly showcase the superb cinematography in Yi Yi from Edward Yang, Wei Han and Li Longyu. And this is a more recent 4K restoration to celebrate the film's 25th anniversary, celebrated last year, completed by Pony Canyon Incorporated and Imagica Entertainment Media Services from the original camera negatives with audio digitised from Hi-8 tapes. It premiered at the Cannes Classics 2025 and has also been shown in cinemas globally. Now, the release itself comes on 2 discs as usual. There's a 4K UHD with the film and, of course, a Blu-ray with the film and these special features. We've a new 4K digital restoration with the original theatrical 2.0 surround DTS HD master audio soundtrack. An alternate 5.0 surround DTS HD master audio soundtrack, audio commentary featuring writer-director Edward Yang and Asian cinema critic Tony Raines. Interview with Raines about Yang and the new Taiwan cinema movement. US theatrical trailer, an original English subtitle translation by Yang and by Raines, and an essay by critic Kent Jones, and notes from the director himself. And the cover design for the disc is by Eric Skillman, a regular contributor to Criterion. Photograph is by Andrei Constantini, and of course that is the original cover art design that the Blu-ray had. Yi Yi is ultimately a film that imparts its meaning and its impact through its exquisite sense of balance between here and elsewhere, past and present, the ideal and the conditional, and the mundane and the extraordinary. It's a film of and about grace, and that is a rare thing nowadays. The film's a running time of 173 minutes. It's in a 1:8:5:1 aspect ratio and in Mandarin, and it releases in the US on Tuesday the 13th of January and in the UK on Monday the 19th of January, and it has an existing spine of 339. We just recently lost visionary director Bela Tarr. He brought a title to the Criterion Collection a few years back, and that was his film Werkmeister Harmonies on 4K UHD, produced in 2000. It's based on the novel The Melancholy of Resistance, written by Laszlo Krasznahorkai, and Bela was the Hungarian filmmaker who distinguished himself with his films with languid pacing, stark black and white visuals, extended long takes and absence of traditional plotting. His work often explored existential themes and often focused on marginalised, desperate characters in a bleak landscape. He became known as a founder of the slow cinema genre, most notably with his influential 1994 film Santantango, running for 7.5 hours. He died aged 70 from a long illness. And you can also look at his work, Werkmeister Harmonies in 4K UHD, that joined the collection a few years ago, and I covered it in a previous video. The link to that video is above. And if you want to see more Bela Tarr works, including Santandango, you can have a look at his special box set, which was released a few years ago from Curzon Films in the UK, a complete series of all his works in Blu-ray format, with a very extensive booklet accompanying that, and that's available from most online retailers. Next time on Let's Talk Criterion, we'll be taking a look at two new titles coming to the collection. Firstly, it's The Swashbuckling Captain Blood, starring Errol Flynn from 1935 on 4K UHD, and we look at the latest World Cinema project with 4 films coming to us on Blu-ray, all curated by director Martin Scorsese. That's World Cinema Project number 5. Both coming soon to the collection. So until then, from me, as always, it's goodbye, and above all, good Criterion viewing.